A long time ago, in the remote and mystic western lands of young Cherland, there was a village like many others, but with a story that would outlive generations. In this village, a girl whose beauty seemed to eclipse the sunlight itself lived with her humble family. Though many men in the village admired her, offering gifts and marriage proposals, she had one desire in her heart: to find her true soulmate. This desire was so strong that she gracefully turned down every proposal, not out of pride, but because she believed in the purest form of love, a connection of souls, not convenience or riches. Her days were filled with work. Her family, though not wealthy, were hardworking farmers, and she often helped them in the fields, whether with her parents or her younger siblings. Little did she know, someone, or rather something, had been silently watching her from the shadows for quite some time. This was no ordinary being. Hidden in the forests and rivers that surrounded her village was a creature of legend, a giant snake with powers far beyond mortal understanding. This serpent, unlike any other, had developed a peculiar fascination with the young maiden, observing her quietly with intentions known only to him. One fateful day, as the girl worked alone in the fields, the giant serpent decided it was time to make his move. Sensing that this moment was ripe, he used his magical powers to transform into a strikingly handsome young man. His transformation was flawless. His appearance was charming, his movements graceful, and his voice soothing, like a melody carried by the wind. He approached the girl, not with grand gestures, but with quiet confidence, offering to help her with her work. Grateful for the unexpected company, she accepted, not knowing that this was the same mysterious presence that had been watching her from afar. Over the following days, whenever the girl worked alone or with her younger siblings, the young man would appear in the fields. He never pressured her, never rushed, but instead built a bond slowly, one rooted in friendship and mutual respect. As they toiled together under the sun, laughing and sharing stories, their relationship began to blossom into something much deeper. The girl found herself drawn to his mysterious nature, while the young man, still the serpent in disguise, grew more enamored with her kindness and beauty. However, despite the growing affection between them, the snake, in his human form, did not rush to reveal his true intentions. He knew patience was key, for this love was something he had waited for, and the right moment had yet to come. As the seasons passed, an unexpected blessing seemed to fall upon the girl's family. Year after year, their crops flourished like never before. The harvests were so plentiful that it became difficult for the family to transport all the grains and produce home. What was once a struggling farm now yielded more than any family in the village could ever imagine. Their fields, which had been modest, transformed into a source of wealth and admiration. The villagers couldn't help but notice the incredible fortune that had befallen this humble family. But no one knew the truth. The family's newfound prosperity was not just luck, but the work of the giant snake's magical powers. Every seed that touched the soil, every plant that grew, had been touched by his enchantment. What started as a quiet affection had turned into something much more significant. The girl's family, though puzzled, embraced their good fortune. With each passing season, they sold their abundant crops, quickly becoming one of the wealthiest families in the region. The villagers, once indifferent to them, now showed respect and even awe, but with that came whispers of curiosity and speculation. The snake, still disguised as a young man, never asked for anything in return for his help. He remained by the girl's side, watching their fortune grow. Yet he patiently waited, knowing that the time would come when he would reveal his true identity and claim the prize he had desired from the very beginning, the heart of the beautiful girl. Despite the family's newfound wealth and prosperity, the beautiful young girl remained unchanged, her heart still as pure and simple as before. She continued to work in the fields, unaware of the true nature of the man who had become such an important part of her life. Her parents, however, began to grow suspicious. Although they were grateful for the sudden abundance, the mysterious young man who often helped their daughter seemed too good to be true. They noticed how their fortunes had shifted ever since he had entered their lives, but they could not put their finger on what was amiss. Her younger siblings also spoke of the handsome man who appeared only when their parents were not around. His sudden appearances, and the way he seemed to vanish just as quickly, raised more questions than answers. The girl's heart, however, was full of love and admiration for the young man. She felt a deep connection with him, but was also plagued by the mystery that surrounded his origins. Who was he? Where did he come from? These questions weighed heavily on her mind, and one bright afternoon, while working alone in the fields, she finally decided to confront him. With her heart pounding, she mustered the courage to ask him directly, "What is your name?" He smiled softly but evaded the question once again, replying, "You will know in due time. For now, it's not important." Frustrated but still intrigued, she pressed on, asking, "Where do you come from?" He paused, gazing into the distance, and after a moment of silence, responded, "I am an orphan from the East." His vague answers only fueled her curiosity further, but something in his demeanor reassured her that he was not a danger. Little did she know, the answers to her questions would soon come to light in ways she could never have imagined. As the seasons continued to change, so did the nature of the girl's feelings for the mysterious young man. Their bond had grown stronger with each passing year, yet the sense of mystery surrounding him never fully disappeared. The love they shared was undeniable, but her parents' suspicions deepened. Her father, a practical man, began to question how their farm had become so prosperous in such a short time. Their once modest home was now filled with riches beyond their wildest dreams, and it was clear that the young man had something to do with it. Yet he remained an enigma, kind and generous but elusive. Her younger siblings, innocent and unaware of the deeper truths, often spoke of how the young man seemed to possess an almost magical presence. They mentioned how the field seemed to thrive when he was around, and how he always appeared at the perfect moment to assist, then disappeared without a trace. The villagers, too, began to take notice of the family's fortune. What had once been a family on the brink of poverty was now one of the wealthiest in the village, and this transformation fueled gossip and rumors. Some villagers whispered that perhaps the family had made a secret pact with a spirit or an otherworldly being. Curiosity grew among the townsfolk, and while the girl's family enjoyed the fruits of their labor, they could not escape the growing sense of unease that surrounded them. In the midst of all this, the young man remained calm and composed, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal his true nature and his ultimate plan. The girl, still in love but now full of questions, could feel that something was about to change, but she did not know just how profound that change would be. One bright and sunny day, the young man, who was of course still the serpent in disguise, decided it was time to reveal his plan. He had waited patiently for years, ensuring the girl's family was well provided for and respected in the village. Now, he felt that the time had come for him to claim the girl's hand in marriage. The bond between them had grown strong, and he knew she had feelings for him, even though she remained unaware of his true identity. With confidence, he approached her in the field and proposed marriage. The girl, filled with joy and love, immediately accepted without hesitation. She was thrilled to finally start a new life with the man she believed to be her true soulmate. Together, they excitedly made plans for the wedding, with the girl eagerly sharing the news with her parents. Her parents, though happy for their daughter, still had lingering doubts about the young man. Despite their reservations, they agreed to the union, thankful for the prosperity he had brought to their lives. However, there was one condition to the marriage that puzzled everyone. The young man refused to come to the village to meet her family. Instead, he insisted that the wedding discussions take place in the fields where they had first met. He requested that her parents and relatives come to this spot on a specific day to formalize the marriage arrangements. Although this request was unusual, the girl's family trusted him, believing that he had their best interests at heart. They had no reason to doubt the man who had brought them such fortune, so they agreed to his terms, even if it left them slightly uneasy. On the appointed day, the girl's parents, along with a few close relatives, made their way to the fields. They brought with them an array of food, including meats and plenty of rice beer, as was customary for such occasions. As they approached the field, they saw the young man waiting for them, but this time he was dressed in his finest attire. He looked even more regal than ever, exuding an air of confidence and charm that instantly put them at ease. The young man had also brought gifts for the girl's family: a mune, which was a traditional mat used in celebrations, and a large pig, a symbol of wealth and respect. These offerings further elevated their trust in him, but still, the mystery of his origins lingered in their minds. Even though he spoke fluent Yim Kare, their native language, his background remained shrouded in secrecy. As they sat down to eat, the family couldn't help but speculate. Some believed he might be from a noble or royal family, given his impeccable manners and the generosity of his gifts. Others thought he could be a traveler from distant lands, possibly from the east, as he had mentioned in passing. Yet, despite the growing speculation, no one dared to question him directly. After the meal, both families sat down to discuss the marriage details. The girl's family, knowing they owed much of their wealth and success to the young man, did not ask for a dowry. Instead, they invited him to give whatever he thought was appropriate. It was clear to them that this man, who had brought them so much prosperity, would make a worthy husband for their daughter. Once the wedding date and time were agreed upon, the two families parted ways, excited for the joyous union that was soon to come. Back in the village, excitement filled the air as preparations for the wedding began. The girl, filled with anticipation, began gathering everything she would need to start her new life. Her family and the villagers showered her with gifts and blessings, celebrating the union that would mark a new chapter not only for her, but for the entire community. The transformation of her family, from humble farmers to respected landowners, had been nothing short of miraculous, and this wedding felt like the crowning achievement of their newfound fortune. As the wedding day approached, the girl's heart brimmed with joy, but beneath her excitement, a quiet curiosity still lingered. Who was this man who had appeared so suddenly in her life and brought such fortune? Though she loved him deeply, she could not help but wonder about the unanswered questions that had always hovered in the background. Nonetheless, she trusted him, and the love they had built over the years was enough to quiet her doubts. On the appointed day, the girl's family and friends, dressed in their finest clothing, made their way to the fields where the ceremony would take place. The air was filled with laughter and celebration as they walked together, accompanied by well-wishers from the village, all eager to witness the union that had become the talk of the town. Upon reaching the field, they found the young man waiting for them, this time dressed in full Yumkinger warrior attire, his presence even more striking than before. The sight of him, with his strength and charm radiating outward, left the villagers in awe. They greeted him warmly, and everyone settled in for the final feast before the ceremony would begin. The atmosphere at the feast was one of pure joy. Laughter echoed through the fields as both families and villagers celebrated the impending union. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the gathering, the young man, still maintaining his carefully constructed identity, presented a breathtaking array of gifts to the girl's parents. These were not ordinary offerings. They were symbols of immense wealth and status. Among the gifts were precious ornaments made of rare stones, a mitun, a traditional hand-woven cloth, a cow, a pig, and even more astonishingly, tiger teeth, wild boar tusks, and feathers from the sacred hornbill. He also presented armlets made from elephant tusks, a finely crafted dao, a ceremonial blade, and a spear, each item carrying great cultural and spiritual significance. These were the kinds of gifts that only the most noble or powerful families could afford, leaving the girl's family and the villagers utterly speechless. The most curious thing of all was that the young man had brought all these treasures without any help. No one had accompanied him to carry the gifts, and yet there they were, laid out before the family with the utmost care. His explanation was simple yet mysterious. My relatives and friends dropped these off before leaving. Though his response seemed to satisfy everyone in the moment, the true source of his immense wealth was still unknown. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, both families felt the weight of the moment. The significance of the gifts, the union itself, and the transformation of the girl's family from humble beginnings to a position of honor filled the air. It was clear to all that this was no ordinary marriage, but one marked by something far more extraordinary. As the final rays of the sun lingered on the horizon, the young man's demeanor shifted slightly. Though the celebration continued, he became more serious, and his voice took on a weight that commanded attention. It was time for him to share one last instruction before the newlyweds set off on their journey together. He gathered the girl's parents and close relatives around him, and with a calm but firm tone, he gave them a cryptic warning. "Before we leave, there is something you must know," he began. "When we depart, do not look back until the sun has fully set. If you do, you will never see your daughter again. But if you heed my words, you will see a light in the distance, a sign that we have arrived safely. You will be able to meet her again, but only every 3 years, and always at this very spot." The gravity of his words sent a chill through the air, and the family listened intently, agreeing to follow his instructions. Though puzzled by the strange request, they trusted him, believing that he was looking out for their daughter's safety and well-being. The girl's mother, however, felt a growing unease. The thought of being separated from her daughter for so long weighed heavily on her heart, but she kept her feelings to herself, determined to respect the young man's wishes. As the sun sank below the horizon and the first stars began to appear in the sky, the newlyweds prepared to set off toward the east, just as the young man had said. The girl's family and friends watched them walk into the distance, their figures slowly blending into the darkening sky. All that remained was to follow his final instruction: do not look back. But as the moments passed and the silence grew heavier, the girl's mother, overcome with emotion, found herself unable to resist. Her heart ached to see her daughter one last time. Against her better judgment, she turned around, hoping for just a glimpse of the couple as they disappeared into the night. The moment the girl's mother turned her gaze toward the horizon, a piercing scream escaped her lips. What she saw was not her daughter and the young man walking hand in hand into the distance, but something far more terrifying and surreal. The figures of the couple had transformed. No longer human, they were now 2 enormous snakes, their shimmering scales glinting under the fading light of dusk. They slithered away, their powerful bodies sliding effortlessly over the earth, heading east toward the unknown. The mother collapsed, overwhelmed by shock and fear, fainting on the spot. Her family rushed to her side, splashing cold water on her face to wake her. When she finally came to, her trembling hands pointed toward where the couple had disappeared. "They have turned into snakes!" she cried, her voice filled with anguish. The villagers who had gathered gasped in disbelief, turning their eyes toward the distant horizon. Indeed, they too could see the faint outline of the giant snakes, now almost fully blended with the darkening landscape as they slithered away into the eastern mountains. Then, as if the night itself had swallowed them, the snakes vanished completely. A sudden voice echoed through the fields, ethereal and otherworldly, chilling the bones of all who heard it. "Because you broke your promise," the voice declared, "you will never see her again." The weight of those words sank deep into the hearts of the girl's family. The warning had come true. Their beloved daughter was lost to them forever, now bound to the serpent who had once taken the form of the handsome young man. Grief and sorrow filled their hearts as they realized that she was no longer of their world, now living out her life as the bride of a powerful, magical being. Despite the overwhelming sadness, they knew that she had made her choice out of love. The family could only hope that wherever she was, she had found happiness in her new life, even if it was one they could never fully understand. From that day forward, the girl's family and the villagers never saw or heard from her again. The memory of her transformation, of the couple slithering away as giant serpents, became a tale passed down through generations. The last image that remained burned into the minds of her parents was of their daughter, now a snake, disappearing into the eastern horizon alongside the mysterious serpent who had won her heart. Many years passed, and the legend of the giant serpent's bride became part of the village's folklore, a story told to warn and intrigue those who dared to listen. Yet, the tale did not end with the girl's disappearance. Several generations later, between the years of 1972 and 1973, workers from the Border Roads Organization were carrying out construction near the Yayi River, between the villages of Lasu and Secure, on the way to Cray District. As they were digging up a large stone with their bulldozer, the earth trembled, and to their astonishment, they uncovered 2 enormous snakes, one male and one female. The workers, shocked by the sight, quickly realized they had disturbed something ancient and powerful. While the male snake and several smaller snakes managed to escape into the surrounding jungle, the female remained behind, bravely staying to protect the others. In her selfless act, she was tragically crushed by the bulldozer's blade, her enormous body lifeless under the weight of the machine. News of the event spread quickly, and the villagers were horrified. They believed this giant female snake was none other than the girl who had been transformed many generations before. The death of the snake seemed to trigger something deeper and darker, as it was not the end of the tale, but the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with vengeance and sorrow. A few days after the giant female snake was killed, a woman from a nearby village, known for her prophetic dreams, had a vision that shook the community to its core. In her dream, a giant male snake appeared to her, disguised as a young warrior. His eyes were filled with sorrow, and his voice echoed with a deep, unshakable anger. He revealed to her that the female snake who had been killed by the bulldozer was his beloved wife, and now that she was gone, his heart burned with a desire for revenge. He vowed that humans would pay dearly for the loss of his wife, a promise that left the dreamer trembling with fear when she awoke. After sharing her vision, the villagers became even more wary of their surroundings. Stories spread about strange occurrences near the construction site and the jungle surrounding the Yayi River. Locals reported seeing a bright, flickering light deep within the forest, near rocky cliffs where the snakes were believed to have escaped. Some believed that this light belonged to the giant male snake, a spirit that now roamed the jungle, mourning his lost bride. Despite their fear, the villagers honored the memory of the giant serpent couple, believing that the male snake was now a powerful spirit, perhaps even a demon, who could not be killed. They warned each other to never disturb the jungle or the cliffs where the light was seen, for those who dared to enter were said to meet a terrible fate. The legend of the giant serpent's bride, now intertwined with the sorrow of the male snake's loss, continued to resonate deeply with the people of the region. The once simple tale of love had transformed into a powerful reminder of the dangers of crossing paths with forces beyond human understanding. The years passed, but the legend never faded. The villagers continued to speak in hushed tones about the flickering light deep within the jungle, always warning travelers and workers to keep their distance from the rocky cliffs where the giant snake was believed to roam. Those who were brave, or perhaps foolish enough to venture into the jungle in search of the light, often returned with chilling stories. Some claimed they heard whispers carried on the wind, while others spoke of seeing a shadowy figure, like a serpent, gliding through the dense foliage, always just beyond their sight. For the most part, the villagers respected the boundaries set by the legend. They believed the giant serpent, still mourning the loss of his wife, could strike at any time to exact his revenge on those who had caused him grief. The serpent's sorrow had turned to fury, and the jungle had become his domain, a place where humans did not belong. However, there were always a few who doubted the tales, people who saw them as nothing more than superstition. But the villagers, deeply connected to their history, held fast to the belief that the spirits of the jungle were not to be trifled with. They knew that the serpent's power was not just a myth, but a living, breathing force that had taken many forms over the centuries, from the love-struck young man to the enraged, grieving snake. Locals came to view the legend not only as a tale of love and transformation, but also as a warning about the delicate balance between nature and humanity. It reminded them that, even though the world changes, the ancient spirits that once walked the earth remain, watching, waiting, and sometimes acting in ways beyond comprehension. As the legend spread beyond the village, it began to take on a life of its own, drawing the attention of travelers, researchers, and storytellers from far and wide. People came from distant lands, intrigued by the tale of the giant serpent's bride and the mysterious light that flickered in the jungle. Some came seeking answers, hoping to unlock the secrets of the ancient story, while others were merely curious, captivated by the allure of a forbidden and magical world. Yet, despite the growing interest, few dared to venture too far into the jungle. The warnings of the villagers echoed in the minds of all who heard the tale. The jungle was a place where nature's forces were not to be challenged. The spirit of the male serpent, still mourning the loss of his beloved bride, was said to be more dangerous than ever. His sorrow had hardened into a deep simmering rage, and those who intruded upon his domain risked awakening that anger. The flickering light, which many believed to be the serpent's spirit, continued to appear sporadically, further fueling the legend. Some claimed that if you saw the light, it was a sign of the serpent watching over his territory, reminding everyone that his presence was still very much alive. Others believed that the light represented the connection between the serpent and his lost bride, a symbol of love that transcended time, bound to the land itself. Though the serpent had not been seen in physical form for many years, the power of the legend remained strong. For the villagers, it was a tale of love, loss, and the enduring presence of forces far beyond human control. The memory of the girl, the giant serpent, and the tragic events that followed still lingered in their hearts, a reminder that some stories, no matter how old, never truly end. As the legend persisted, the village continued to thrive, but the people always maintained a respectful distance from the jungle and its mysterious depths. The serpent's tale had become more than a cautionary story. It was woven into the very fabric of the villagers' lives, a living reminder of the power and unpredictability of the natural world. Some of the older villagers, who had heard the tale passed down from their ancestors, would tell the younger generation that the giant serpent was not merely a symbol of love and vengeance, but also a guardian of the land. They believed that the serpent had watched over the fields and the village for centuries, protecting it from unseen forces while simultaneously demanding respect and reverence. The serpent's magical powers, which had once brought prosperity to the girl's family, were still present, lingering in the air, in the soil, and in the waters that flowed through the jungle. Despite the passage of time, the connection between the serpent and the girl was never forgotten. Villagers continued to visit the site of the wedding ceremony, leaving offerings of food, flowers, and other tokens of respect. They hoped to appease the spirit of the serpent and to ensure that their crops would continue to flourish, just as they had when the serpent had first entered their lives. The offerings were both a tribute and a plea, a way of maintaining the delicate balance that the village had come to rely on. And so, the legend of the giant serpent's bride endured, not just as a story of love and loss, but as a testament to the power of ancient forces and the deep connection between humanity and the natural world. The villagers knew that while the serpent may no longer walk among them, his presence would never truly fade, for the spirit of the jungle, the spirit of the serpent, remained as strong as ever. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this tale, please leave your like and tell me in the comments which part you like the most. See you in the next video.